Hello, friends. Welcome back. It is Syracuse basketball postgame presented by Krause Health. We're live here on the Syracuse Orange basketball Facebook page. We're live on Syracuse Orange Sports on YouTube as well. Following, and it's been a while since we said this, actually first time this year that we can say the Orange are victorious. Yes, Syracuse with a 77-61 win over Pittsburgh at the Carrier Dome tonight. First of three straight games at the Dome for Syracuse, and snapping a three-game losing streak to Virginia, Miami, and Wake Forest that encompassed all of 9 points. A lot of tight games, a lot of crazy basketball the past few games for the Orange, 2 on the road, but they come back home. And that home cooking was good for Syracuse. They put up one of their best defensive performances of the year, particularly in the second half of this game. Buddy Boeheim sprung free after really struggling. He put up 17 points against Wake Forest, but went 5 of 20 in that game, 7 of 27 in that game in Miami, but found some open looks in this game, inside and outside scoring. Jimmy Boeheim, a good offensive day. And really one of the twists, if you will, fans of The Office will appreciate this reference, how the turntables. John Hughley, Pittsburgh's big man, comes in as a player who had 32 points and 13 rebounds against Boston College a couple days back. Both BC's starting center and their backup center foul out trying to guard this guy. He draws about 7 fouls per game, one of the leading players in the country in that department. And Pittsburgh had the best foul rate in the country. And coming in, now Jesse Edwards did foul out of the game, but deep into the second half, Hughley's the one that was in foul trouble. Jesse Edwards, he picked up some quick fouls down the stretch, but only had 2 fouls about midway through the second half. So, Jesse ended up fouling out. That's the 5th straight game that's happened, but it's all about when it happens. Timing is everything, right? He fouled out with 9 minutes to go against Wake Forest. Jesse was great in this game, 12 points and 8 rebounds for the Orange. And really, as the comments start coming in here, and I'll highlight a few of what you guys are starting to say, great to have you back. And make sure you always say hello and check in. Tell us where you're watching from tonight, as it is 9 degrees. It is literally 9 degrees outside my window right now. So I hope it's warmer where you are. But many of you watching from cold posts throughout the country and the world for that matter. We're on the internet, right? So I'll start highlighting some of your comments and responding here shortly. But really, this was a cleanse for Syracuse. They had to win a game. I don't really care who the opponent was. They had to get that love and feeling back in this one. They were so close against Wake. They were so close against Miami. Virginia, really controlled that game throughout. I never got the sense Syracuse would win, but they were in that game. Like we said, the 3-game losing streak was by a total of 9 points. So I think Syracuse just had to get right. They're 8-8 again, so they're no longer below that 500 line. They're going to continue to fight to, get over that line. They're going to straddle that thing for a while unless they can build a winning streak here. But Syracuse got to win, and that's the important thing. They really needed to get that feeling back tonight. So let's dig into some of the numbers here. The second half numbers for Pittsburgh are just absolutely brutal. This is a Pitt team that came in and just could not hit water if they fell out of a boat. They couldn't hit ice outside my window right now if they tried. Pitt, and this is the second half, 5 of 21. They shot 23%. Meanwhile, Syracuse was 12 of 22, 54%. That's in the second half. The Orange win that half 42-27 on the way to the eventual 77-61 score. So all told, the Orange shot 51% in this game. And a big reason for that is they pounded Pittsburgh in the paint. 25 of 49. Pitt finishes 18 of 47. That's 38%. Pitt surprisingly hit 7 3-pointers in this game. I talked to Chris Peak before the game on my radio show. A great guy, and covers Pittsburgh better than anybody, by the way, at Panther Layer. A little shout out to him. And he was telling me that Pitt doesn't shoot threes. Well, they hit 7 in this game, more than Syracuse, who had 6. Syracuse went on a heater in the first half and just didn't have to hit the threes in this game. That's not a bad thing that they were only 6 of 17 from 3-point range, as we'll go over here shortly. They were so good in the paint. And this was the 4th straight game that Syracuse out-rebounded its opponent, but it's the first one they won, coming off that 3-game losing streak. So good for Syracuse on that front, because they've traditionally struggled to rebound the ball. And now rebound teams, they've done it 4 games in a row. But we're kind of burying the lead here, because this game was decided in the paint, and Syracuse crushed Pittsburgh 32-16 in the paint. And again, hearing about how good of a player John Hughley was in the paint. And look, this guy's been great, 32 and 13 against BC the other day, as we noted. And, he came in as like the legend of the abominable snowman, right? But he did not have a good game. He was nowhere near the player we thought he was. I think getting that foul trouble certainly dinged him. I'll look at his numbers while we're yakking about it here. Yeah, just 8 points and 8 rebounds on the day for a guy who had 32 and 13 the other night. So I thought points in the paint were big, and Syracuse's defense was just much better in this game. It's arguably their best defensive performance of the year, certainly one of their better halves defensively. This is a Syracuse team, as we've seen. Now, Pitt is not on the same level of Wake and Miami, so keep that in perspective. But this is one of the better second halves defensively this team has played. So Buddy Boeheim leads the way with 24 points for the Orange, including 5 of 8. He had 5 of Syracuse's 6 3-pointers in the game. Jimmy Boeheim right behind for 18 points. We mentioned Jesse Edwards, 12 points, 8 rebounds, 6 of those on the offensive end, by the way, for Jesse, added 3 blocks to the mix. Cole Swider, 10 points, just 2 rebounds tonight. Cole usually higher in the rebounding department. He had 14 against Wake Forest the other night, so quiet night for him there, but still contributing. Speaking of quiet nights, Joe Girard, a quiet 8 points for him, 2 assists, played just 28 minutes in this game. And Symir Torrance came off the bench with 5 points in 12 minutes of this one. One kind of nitpick, a disappointment in a game where there wasn't a lot that you can complain about from the Syracuse standpoint. The fact that Benny Williams and Frank Anselm didn't get more time. They only played 4 minutes apiece in this game. Actually, Frank played 7 minutes. We actually got a rare John Bolajak appearance in this game. Jim Boeheim saying after the game that John Bull's actually been one of the best players at practice as of late, so he got rewarded with a little playing time for that. But I'm surprised we didn't see more of Benny Williams. You got that big lead. This thing was well decided midway through the second half. Get that young guy in there. Let him develop. I mean, he went with the starters right to the bitter end, though. So I thought that was kind of one disappointment in this game, but not a lot, not a ton, not a lot to complain about here. Syracuse needed to get a win and got the job done tonight. So let's see what you're thinking about this one. As John says that Jesse still needs to be more aggressive, right? And I thought Jesse played within himself tonight, played confident tonight. Jim was noting that they're reaching a little bit on defense, a little too much. That went away in the second half, and he thinks that's a kind of a problem with this team on the defensive end. Jesse just had some, now put aside TV Teddy and his crew and that ridiculous officiating against Wake Forest. Jesse gets himself into some trouble, chasing some shots, being a little too aggressive at times. And I thought he was much smarter in this game. He played within himself, and he was the better player compared to John Hughley, who came in as one of the more reputable centers in the ACC. So you got to take that as a win. And Jesse is, just continues to show how important he is to this team. He doesn't get into foul trouble until late, and it just makes a huge difference for this team. His presence in the paint, his scoring, his rebounding. We mentioned the 6 offensive rebounds, which were big. So it's exactly what you need from Jesse Edwards. And what we saw tonight, as Michelle notes, some delicious home cooking for the Orange tonight. Ira saying Buddy had a much better night shooting. And yeah, that's on Pitt. Buddy got a rare situation. Jimmy with a great stat here and pointing out that Buddy had 24 on just 13 shots in this game. He took 20 shots against Wake Forest and, only scored 17 points, if you will, given that shot ratio there. As Dale notes here, defense actually rules the day, although Pitt's offense is pretty poor. Now, on the point with Buddy and the shooting, Pittsburgh gave him some open looks in the first half, and that's on them. If you're Pittsburgh, you're anybody that's playing Syracuse, you cannot let Buddy roam free or he's going to kill you. There was one shot Buddy had where he caught the ball kind of right in front of the Syracuse bench, if you recall, got that shot off. I mean, literal catch and shoot while he's kind of leaning towards the out of bounds line. And I don't know how he made that. That was a great shot. And that's usually what Buddy has to do to get shots. But tonight he had 4 clean, open, smooth looks. And for Pittsburgh to leave him open like that, you cannot do that or he's going to burn you. He did that tonight. In the second half, he was going in the paint a little bit more, getting to the free throw line a little bit more, adjusted his game. Pitt finally woke up and defended him. But, hey, Matt says it's 50 in San Antonio. Brr! I'll take 50. As Christina notes here, a nice balmy 50 degrees. Yeah, that sounds nice. It's going to be like 35 here tomorrow. I'm going to get the suntan lotion out, right? David asked a good question. Was Jimmy Boeheim always a poor free throw shooter at Cornell? I'd have to look up the numbers, David, but I don't believe so. He's just in a funk there at the free throw line. I really don't get it. If you guys are familiar, old school video, I brought up this reference a couple times lately. It bears repeating. So the old Boeheim on basketball video. I don't know if you guys remember this. Came out in the late 80s, VHS tape. And it's just as it says, it's Jim Boeheim just teaching the fundamentals of basketball. Sherman Douglas and Herman Hareed. Shout out Herman Hareed. We're in this video. They filmed it at Manley Fieldhouse. And there's a scene in this video. You guys can look it up on YouTube. Look it up after the show. Don't watch it now. So you go on YouTube, find Boeheim on basketball, zip up to the 32-minute mark. I know exactly where it is. And in this video, Jim Boeheim goes on a heater. While he's describing how to make free throws, he makes, I'm not kidding you, like 30 in a row. So I think Jimmy just needs to pull that up, watch Dad, and get the form back. But yeah, that's been a strange thing. I don't recall him being a bad free throw shooter at Cornell, but maybe someone can look up those numbers and we can compare him to where he's at Syracuse, which he's below 60%, which is not good. Christian says Q started off shaky on the boards, but got active on that. Blake checking in from Houston. Couple of plays, and they're 3-0 the past 3 games rather than 1-2. They look good tonight. Hopefully they can carry it forward. And, the good news is they won, and they had to get the win. The bad news is you gain nothing in terms of resume. This was just a feel-good win for the team. It's to get the record back at 8-8, and those are important things. And not that Syracuse is in the NCAA tournament conversation right now, but this, to put it a certain way, would hurt you a lot more if you lost versus what you gain in winning. From that standpoint, the win was big for morale, to get that feeling of winning, to get a return on investment here. As you noted, they were so close. 1-2 could have gone either way in any one of those games. This team could easily have 10 wins right now versus the 8 wins they are currently at. So this one was all about confidence and getting that feeling back and execution, and not a ton to really complain about. Joe had a quiet night, the bench play. You know what I actually kind of do have a complaint about? I think the crowd can be better at the Carrier Dome. Now, look, it's COVID. People have to wear masks. It's 9 degrees in Syracuse, New York, walking up that windy hill on a cold night. The students aren't there, and the students always provide some energy. But, man, the atmosphere in the Dome was just as bland and as quiet, and just, it's like a morgue in there. And I think what I don't understand, I don't want to rip the fans too much because, they made the investment, they went to the game. But what I don't understand is if you went to the game, right, you went up the hill in the 9-degree weather, you dealt with the COVID stuff, anything you want to bring up of reasons not to go. Like, the crowd sometimes has to be the one to spur the team on versus reacting and only reacting. And it was just as quiet and dull. Picked up a little bit at times in the second half, but I felt like, if there's one thing you could look at and say could have been better, I think the crowd could have been better. Sometimes you got to be a self-starter, right? Sometimes you got to be the one that kind of gets the team into it and makes an atmosphere at the Dome. But, we're picking nits if that's what we're talking about in this game tonight. But that's been a habit that Syracuse fans get into. They're a little more reactive than proactive. How about that at times? So I think, again, if you make the effort to go and you're there, like, hey, you're at a basketball game, right? It's not a library. Like, get up and go and make this thing an atmosphere. And people can use that outlet right now, right? I know it's winter and a lot of anxiety out there, and, people dealing with all sorts of things right now. And sports is supposed to be that outlet. It's supposed to be that release, right? You go to a game, like, get into it. I don't know. Maybe I got to buy you guys some more beers at the game, get you going, get you rolling out there. Maybe Jim Boeheim's got to get the microphone and get you guys going out there. I don't know what it is, but yeah, really quiet. David, thanks for looking that up. So yeah, I guess I guess Jimmy has kind of struggled at the free throw line, 67% at Cornell. I don't know. Just one of those things. Free throws, it's technique. It's just you in the basket. There's no defense. It's just, free throws matter. Follow through. I don't know. Watch the Boeheim on basketball video, Jimmy. I'm telling you, good tips from Dad in that one. As Christina notes here, my boyfriend says, nice to be in the NIT conversation. It's kind of where they're at this point. Unfortunately, they have got to go on quite a heater to be back in that conversation. Joe Lenardi put out his latest bracketology today. There were 5 ACC teams in it, and 2 of them are in the play-in game. So you're already scrapping at this point if you're the ACC. Duke is certainly in. Miami is in. North Carolina. He had Virginia Tech barely in on the bubble, and I believe Miami was the 5th team that got in. So, look, there's a lot of basketball left. There's 14 games to go. There's 15 if they reschedule that Georgia Tech game, but there's not a lot of quad 1 games left. That's the thing. Syracuse is in desperate need of quality wins, standout resume wins. They don't have any right now. Their resume pops because of bad losses. They played some good teams, tough, quality losses, if you will. Auburn earlier in the year and a couple teams like that, but they are in desperate need of quality wins. And there's not a lot of chances left. We'll see where that Florida State win ends up, and they get Florida State again on Saturday. So we'll see where that ends up being, quad 1 or quad 2 at this point. But yeah, they're well out of the NCAA tournament conversation right now. But I don't know. Weirder things have happened, guys. Weirder things have happened. Jeff says he's down in Georgia. How about them Bulldogs? National champs last night. He says, Joe showed me a little something going to the basket, mixing it up in the lane. Joey labels Florida State a must-win. Certainly a must-win in terms of what we were just discussing, resume and beating a quality team. And they got Florida State again. So first repeat opponent of the year for the Orange. And we'll see how it goes a second time around, this time at home. Syracuse, I'll look it up just to go back on that game a little bit and refresh our memories there. But they played pretty well against Florida State the first time around. And if I recall correctly, when they broke, Florida State had a pretty significant home winning streak. And I believe had they beaten Syracuse, they would have set the ACC record for a home winning streak, but did not. Syracuse snapped it. So just jumping back here, that game, let's see, 63-60 first time around. They snapped Florida State's 25-game conference home winning streak, just short of the ACC record. Cole Swider, because free throws matter, had a couple free throws with about 10 seconds to go. Syracuse held off a couple 3-point attempts by Florida State at the end. So, cardiac cues, close game in this one. Let's see. Joe Girard had 16 points. Swider had 16 points. Jimmy had 13. Jesse Edwards had a good game that day. So Florida State comes around again here, and we'll see if the Orange can get the repeat win over the Seminoles. And what time is that game, guys? I don't have – oh, here it is. I lost my schedule for a second. So Florida State on Saturday, that's a 3 o'clock game. And that's a good thing because the Bills game is on at 8 o'clock, okay? No offense to you guys. I love being here and talking hoops with you. But if the Bills game was on at the same time as the Syracuse game, got to watch the Bills game. It's the playoffs. Got to watch the Bills beat the Patriots on the way to hopefully a deep playoff run in that big football game that they play at the end of the year. We shall see. Go Bills, right? So that's 3 o'clock tip time coming up on Saturday for that one. Yeah, Michelle says TV Teddy robbed us of a quad 1 win. Yeah, the more I think about it, and I heard a pregame interview with Jim Boeheim where he was pretty upfront about the inbounds play at the end of that Wake Forest game. It was out of bounds on Wake Forest. If anything, the benefit of the doubt should have gone to Syracuse because they couldn't see it on the replay. Buddy was fouled on that play. And one thing Jim did say in that interview was, games are not decided on one call, but that game was. It's about as poignant as you're going to get from Jim Boeheim, who, as much as he yells at refs during games, doesn't really complain about officiating after games as an excuse to losing. And in that case, he was pretty right at him, yeah, thanks for costing us that one. But hey, you had overtime to make up for it and lost, so it goes both ways, right? Jimmy, I got to tell you, folks, I don't know if you guys saw this, and Jimmy notes it here. So during the basketball game, some pretty significant football news coming Syracuse's way. And if you didn't see it, I just want to pull it up here so we can give you some info on it while we're yakking about it. But the Syracuse football team got a transfer quarterback. He is a Long Island native. He had left Michigan and went into the transfer portal as a quarterback. So what you got now is a little competition for Garrett Schrader in the room, and you have Justin Lamson, you have Jacoby and Morgan, but I don't know how serious they are in the competition to beat out Garrett Schrader at this point. So they got a young man by the name of Dan Villari from Long Island, out of Michigan. And, they have not offered a lot of quarterbacks in the transfer portal, but they like this kid, and they like what they saw in him. From what I've seen and heard about him, has a much better arm than Garrett Schrader. And we might have a legit quarterback competition here. And this is the Jason Beck effect, folks. New quarterback coach comes in and lands, a quarterback people were pretty excited about in the transfer portal. So that's a nice pluck there for Syracuse and getting a guy out of Michigan. We'll see how that works out. Little football nugget here in the basketball conversations. Yeah, you guys are talking about a little bit. Brian brings it up. Dan Villari, there's his name and his number. Thank you, David, at this point. So, hey, the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh away. And in this case, it giveth back to Syracuse. And Syracuse giveth itself a win tonight with that pretty impressive performance, holding Pittsburgh to just 5 second-half field goals. And we mentioned how well Buddy played, how well Jimmy played, how well Jesse played in this game, how well the defense got back on track. So the one thing you got to look for now is how much of this was empty calories versus how much of this was a solid win. And what Syracuse needed was execution. It needed to believe in itself again. It needed to just get a return on investment. They just needed to win a game. Hughley was, at least in this game, he's a great player. I don't want to knock him too much, but not as advertised in this game. And even though it was pretty quiet in the Dome, Syracuse kind of created their own energy, came out much better in the second half. Now, things got a little tight at the end of the first half, and it looked like Pitt was starting to punch back a little bit. Jimmy Boeheim scored right before the half, and it felt like Syracuse kind of fueled off that, went on a 22-5 run from there. And a rare occurrence for this team, particularly in ACC play this year, an easy night at the Carrier Dome, and they needed that breather. So it's the first of 3 straight at home. They will get Florida State coming up on Saturday, 3:00 tip time. Then we'll watch the Bills beat the Patriots. And then a week from tonight, Tuesday, they play Clemson, and that is a 9:00 start. So we'll be up late for that one as the Orange take on the Tigers. And I'll look it up while we're talking about it here, guys. Clemson, that would certainly be a quality win for the Orange. I just want to kind of see, I don't remember if they were in or if they were one of the first teams out of Lunardi's rankings today in bracketology. I'm just sorting through my net rankings here. Yeah, Clemson's 55 in the net rankings. So that would be a big, big win. Hey, while we're here, let's see where Florida State's at and what that would be. So this is they're 70 in the net ranking. So that'd be a quad 2 win. You need quad 1 to be 1 through 30 at home. That's a road game. So 70 for Florida State, 55 for Clemson. But bottom line, next 2 games, you're right back up to 2 quality games, 2 quality teams after, taking a break with Pittsburgh, who's kind of fishing around the bottom of the pond here in the ACC. Not that Syracuse is that much higher at this point, but hey, 8-8 is better than 7-9 at this point. All right, what do you say we end there for the evening? Always appreciate you guys coming back. Stay warm out there if you're in a locale like I am, where it's 9 degrees outside. Enjoy the warm weather for those of you in warmer spots. As noted, Syracuse, Florida State, Saturday, 3:00. So I'll be right here with you after the game. Same bad time, same bad channel. And if you do miss the show live, don't forget that the YouTube clip, we send it out on social media. You can find it embedded on my recap on syracuse.com. Hope you guys can read that tomorrow, and all of our great coverage from our great writers throughout the night and tomorrow when it all pops up for you. And this automatically archives on Facebook as well. So if you ever miss it, it's easy to find. But we always like it when you hang out live with us here. And thanks to our friends at Krause Health, of course, for sponsoring. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll meet again when the Orange take on Florida State on Saturday right here on Syracuse Basketball Postgame.